40 years to the day since the LiveAid concert. Are you ready? But the fire of that concert, the fire of Band-Aid, the fire of LiveAid, the fire of this show, the fire that still burns bright and loud today started with a spark. And I am so delighted that we have that spark here with us today. But listen, he's quite a bashful and shy, retiring kind of guy, so we might need to make a bit of noise as I welcome to the stage the one and only Mr. Bob Geldof.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear LiveAid. They don't even know it. Happy birthday to you. Hip hip. Hooray! Sit down, everyone. Thanks. I know exactly how you feel about it. First, seriously? Seen it half a dozen times, and just looking at myself been amazing. It's so fucking great. Craig is bizarrely morphing into me in 1985. I'm a much nicer person then, and it's nice for him to play me because he's a bit of a prick, really, on stage. So he gets to do this, 8 times a week. The others are just, fuck off. I mean, this is acting. Really, this is silly. And somehow John O'Farrell, the writer, has telescoped all of that madness and that panic and that exhaustion into a 2-hour entertainment that makes you just exuberant and panicked and sad yourself. That the society that was, as exemplified by the younger people in the cast in 1985, has been almost reproduced with those thugs like Trump and Vance and Musk and this new death of kindness.
Yeah.
Like John, I see Alistair Campbell, who's an old friend. In fact, there's so many faces here tonight. Thank you all for coming. As John wrote, it's only this sort of gathering together that stuff can be resolved. I'm constantly asked about why not do a LiveAid for Palestine and stop that horror and that horror. And the thing is, pop music doesn't do that anymore. Pop music back then was the spine of society. It defined what we could articulate, what we were and where we should go. That's being sublimated by social media these days. So a concert wouldn't work. But the point about a concert is you need to posit an end that's achievable. The end to Palestine, my answer always is what's it? The two-state solution. The end to Palestine is to just fucking stop killing people. That's the end. As Bob and Craig say, pop music can't do that. So that demands proper politics, and unfortunately the bravery of that simply isn't around now. So we just have to imagine those other times when you could tilt the world a little on its axis. And these people 8 times a week remind us of that. And that for Band-Aid is the strength of this. Never mind that these people, by doing their job so rigorously, so brilliantly, have contributed to Band-Aid already hundreds of thousands of pounds that have built hospitals and put the band. So my mates from the Boomtown Rats are here tonight. talking to Pete, who's been playing with me for 50 odd years. It's our anniversary this year. What a fucking band, are you kidding me? It's amazing. It was seriously annoying. I sat with Harvey up there and I kept going, that fucking bass player, shut up! So tonight is joy, because 40 years, millions of people are alive. These people remind you of that. They remind you of what's happening. The whole aura of this thing is joy. Thanks, John, for doing that. Thanks to the directors and the producers and the MDs for doing it. But just so you know how real this is, I'm going to bring out the people who are represented here tonight. So I sat down, like Craig showed you, at television that night, and like many of us who were there at the time, I was disgusted and shamed and enraged by one of the greatest journalistic reports ever written or produced, not just on British television, but around the world. And it electrified us. And the reason Band-Aid worked was because all of you saw it and all of you felt the same. And that little piece of plastic became the price of a life, became the object, the focus of your disgust and your shame that this should happen unnecessarily in this world. And the genius who made that report and who has been lauded ever since is here tonight. Michael Bird, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't have your way with words, Bob. Particularly the F word, you know, okay? It's the BBC, okay. It was a great show tonight, and it just brought back to me that unique moment in time where, I don't know what it was mainly him that managed to fuse not just the sympathy of the first world, the attention of the first world, with the suffering of the third world, but actually, and I think it was him, who just gave us the feeling that individually we could do something about it. And it had never happened before, and it's never really happened since. And I'm not sure exactly why that is, but an awful lot to do is his chemistry and what he actually achieved. And this night is a complete celebration of that. And, you know, I feel very ambiguous about something, about building a reputation on the suffering of others. I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, it's a dreadful thing in a way, but it really does feel, I don't know, it just feels good at the moment. Thank you very much for coming.
What struck me in that report, and for 40 years I've been asked about this report, and I'm sorry, I break into tears when the images that Mohammed Amin shot and Michael chose to use against his focused narrative, focused words. There were several things in that are fixed in my mind, and though I've trawled through this misery many times, this horror, as Craig so fucking brilliantly evinces in his soliloquy. The one that remains is in the middle of the burnt lands, in the middle of the hungry lands, was this young, white girl from the Shires or somewhere with her accent. And around her is some, in my mind it's butter oil, but it could be something she had to distribute, tiny amount, and lines of hungry people. And the parents had put their children in the front, these elegant people. And what I remember, and maybe my mind has morphed this into something, is she'd no more left to give, as they just queued up. And finally it got to a little chap, in my mind again, of about 5 or 6, and Claire had no more to give. And the little fella didn't complain, just accepted. And he laid his weary head on his tired arm, which was resting on the stone wall that he could lean on. And he died. And the woman who has stayed fixed in my mind as this young thing thrown into this desperate alien world, and who has motivated me ever since, is here. She was a nurse then, she's an expert now. Ladies and gentlemen, Claire Birching.
But not just him, actually, he's just the figurehead. You should see the background behind Band-Aid and what they do. And if you look on the Charity Commission, you can see that they don't spend their money on themselves for their trips. They are really one of the best charities that I know about. And I do remember some words you said when I was out there, and that was, I had a feeding centre of 500 children, and one day I went out there and I had 60 or 70 places. And outside they had 10 rows of children. What you didn't say was each row was 100 children. That's 1,000 children. I only had 60 or 70 places. They all had just skin dripping off their bones, no muscle, no fat. And I knew those who I turned away would die within the next few days. We didn't take the ones who were the worst, because I took the ones who had a spark of life in their eyes, because the ones who were the worst, we knew they would die within 2 or 3 days, if not sooner. And turning them away was terrible, and that's something that I will hold always and never forget. So thank you very much for everything, and please, 10% of I don't know if you said that, I didn't hear, of the income of this theatre and everything that they do goes to Band-Aid, so please continue to give.
So I called the Tube. And I'm not sure that I thank God that Midure was at the other end of that call, because if it was someone else, they'd have probably just said, oh, you know what, Bob, it's not my thing, or I'm touring. But Midure was at the other end. And he said, yeah, well, let's just write a fucking song and see what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, Midure.
Yes!
It's very odd because after 40 years, I get to have a microphone and speak. These guys are phenomenal, not just because they are brilliant at what they do, but as it's said in the performance you've just seen, they are the next generation. We are trying to hand on the baton that we kind of helped each other create. It's phenomenal. I have to tell you, the producers of the programme, just before the doors open today, ask Bob to not be political. Suffice to say, he lied. Sitting watching there, I remembered how good the music was, how brilliant this band was. Every school child on the planet should get a chance to see this, to show them there is no such thing as no hope. Every politician on the planet should see this, to remind them nothing's impossible. Thank you.
Harvey just said again, we've seen it 6 times. I wasn't as tall as that. No, but he's got hair, you know. He's totally. The greatest showman that Britain has ever produced. I just don't think there's any doubt of that. If Harvey Goldsmith hadn't created live rock and roll in this country, then we would be without 90% of the bands that we cherish. And if I hadn't have gone in to see him after Midge and I made the record, then this night wouldn't be here. Ladies and gentlemen, he's something of a genius, Harvey Goldsmith.
Thank you. For me, besides watching this amazing cast and this incredible band, for me, on the day, both in England, at Wembley and in Philadelphia, the people who really made this work were the crew. The production guys, the sound guys, the lighting guys, the trucking guys. The night before Wembley, at about 9 o'clock, I got a phone call to say that the turntable stage wasn't working. And the crew were just exhausted and had enough. They'd been non-stop for 6 days putting this all together. So I went down, I went to an off-licence, I bought 4 crates of beer, cold, took it down there, gave it to the crew, and I said, come on, we've got to sort this out. It turned out that a piece of scaffolding got stuck in the cog. We got it out, and there was this massive sigh of relief for everybody, and I thought, that's it, I'm done. But without them, none of this could happen, and it goes for the same for the production guys making this show work. Because the sound is incredible. So thank you.
In the early iteration of this show, there was a scene where I introduced the whiz-bang concept of the revolving stage, or 3-stage ABC. So the band up front is playing, the band on stage B is coming off, and the band on stage C is setting up. And Harvey in the play says, you know, what happens if it breaks down? And I say, donkeys. We have fucking donkeys pulling it out. That's true. I did say that, Harvey, and you should have had the fucking donkeys. I've said it for 40 years. You know, ladies and gentlemen, where's Marshall? Where are you? Where's Marshall? So, in all of this, there was a girl at reception in Polygram, the record company that allowed me to use their offices to just phone. I just couldn't afford to just stay on the phone, so they let me use it. And the girl at reception was this chirpy cockney, I thought. And she just kept hanging around, so I'll do that. No, you don't have to fucking do that, I'll fucking do that. So I said, she sounds like me. This is true. I was in the Band-Aid office, because Ken Livingston gave us offices for free. And I was in the Band-Aid office, and this phone rang, said, he's not available. And I said, is there writing? I thought, fucking hell, this is not going to go well. I don't give a fuck who you are. You can have me tell you to fuck off, or have Bob tell you to fuck off. It's the same thing. It was the Prime Minister of Norway, for fuck's sake. Ladies and gentlemen, Marsha Hunt.
It's probably true. I do swear more than even Bob does. Imagine our company. But I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming. One funny story I remember, other than the fact that there's too many to repeat about him. The first time I met Harvey, and I think this is important to remember, of when the concert was put together, there was no mobile phones, there was no computers, we had nothing like that going on. It was literally landline stuff. And I remember the first time that I met Harvey, he came in the office with a suitcase. And I said, hello, how are you? My name is Marsha. He said, I'm Harvey. I said, good, nice holiday. And he said, what the fuck are you talking about? I said, oh, you've had a fucking holiday, you've got a suitcase. He said, this is a mobile phone.
And then we didn't know what to do with the money, so now it gets really serious. All the people that gathered around me, and I've no real idea why, I just simply accepted it, and they just simply got on with whatever needed to be done. It's very weird what happened, really weird. I don't really understand it. But I went into the managing director's office at the record company, and I said, we're going to do a charity record. He was pissed, and he said, yeah. And there was a young lawyer in there, and he just was looking skeptically. I could walk into the MD, because the rats at the time were having, making decent money for the company, and he just looked at me and he said to me, well, what are you going to do with the money? And I said, well, I know, fucking give it to Oxfam or something. He goes, what if you make a lot of money? I said, well, give it to Save the Children. And he said, no, you're going to need to do this legally. What about the publishing? What about the distribution? What about this, that, and the other? I said, for fuck's sake, I just want to make a record. And he said, but you do need legal help. And I said, well, you do it. And he said, well, yeah, but, I can maybe do that. And I said, well, just fucking do it. What's your name? He said, Kennedy. I said, John Kennedy. Ladies and gentlemen, for 40 years, for free, this man has done everything. He is, in fact, the CEO of Band-Aid to this very day. John Kennedy.
It's been an honour, it's been a privilege. We've been scared for many, many years of all of this. When he said he was going to do a concert on 2 continents, none of us knew how to do it. Harvey came along. I always say that we started in the shallow end, and that was fine, but we kept on going deeper and deeper and deeper. If we'd known what we would need to do, we would really have been too scared to do it. But it's fantastic to be here. It's an honour and a privilege. One of the great things that happened when John wrote this play, he was talking about how people who did not have a position to do anything could end up changing the world. And funny enough, when I was in row C of one of these performances, my friend said, it must have been great at LiveAid. And the lady sitting next to him said, I was at LiveAid as well. So we were introduced to each other. I said, what did you do? And she told me the most amazing story. Dee Flower is here this evening. She tried to get a job in trucking. In a man's world in 1984, getting a job in trucking was not easy. She came out of an interview and she heard Bob on the radio saying, we need trucks. In the end, I think we had 300 trucks. She called the BBC, where he'd just been giving his interview, and said, I could help with trucks. Imagine that they then managed to get hold of Bob Geldof, and Bob Geldof met Dee, who then got our trucking units together. The trucks that broke the cartel that made all of this work in the end. She decided she could help. She was under pressure that the money should be used to buy British trucks because they were the most sophisticated, but she knew they would break down in the desert. So she bought trucks on our behalf that could be fixed with a pair of nylons. And this woman, in a man's world, showed us how to break the trucking cartel, which is crucial to everything that happened. And she's here tonight.
Absolutely unbelievable. I had no idea when I first called Bob to say I can help you get trucks that it would turn into this amazing thing. Worked on it for 5 months, talking to truck manufacturers, hauliers. Initially, when I called them, I said I'm calling from Band-Aid. They said, is that plasters? I said, no. And then as kind of the momentum grew, more and more people wanted to help. And they really kind of stepped up. The industry really wanted to help. When it came to LiveAid, Bob, who was busy organising all these amazing, famous people, remembered the people that had helped, and he got tickets for hauliers, ticket for truck manufacturers, because he just wanted to say thank you. And that was brilliant, Bob. You just remembered everybody. Thank you.
Harvey, John, Lynch, John. So for 40 years, ridiculously, this is us. As records as you can, it doesn't matter if you don't like it, buy them. And every single penny will go to somebody who desperately needs it directly. For 40 years, these people have not taken a phone call or a cup of coffee or a taxi fare or a tube train to do what they do every single day for Band-Aid. It all goes straight in. So now we move on. It's odd, a celebration. I went to see Oasis last night, as I said, fucking hell, genius. And, you know, Liam is fucking giving it, you know, like, began to walk funny. I don't have that Irish level of obstreperousness that he seems to radiate, but he's great. When I came down this morning into the hotel, into the reception room, happy LiveAid Day, Bob. What the fuck are you talking about? Happy LiveAid Day. And on the train down, it seems to have resonated. And we don't really understand why, but that day that they so evince every night creates the avenues of possibility to walk down. And the emblem of that day, the genius of the music that day, by every single act, they were almost overpowered themselves at what levels of artistry they achieved. And the emblem of all of that, all those bands, the greatest artists of our time without question. But the emblem of that day, of course, is Queen. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Brian May.
I've had an incredible evening. I didn't know what to expect, but what an incredible company. What an incredible band, cast, production. Big, please, applause for this. And I don't have very many words. I just want to say I was incredibly proud to be a part of this thing 40 years ago, and I'm incredibly proud to be a part of this moment here right now. We were a small part of Bob's incredible machine that he put together to save the world. And I say thank you to all you guys out here for supporting this production. And if you're watching this on Instagram or whatever, support this production, because this is not just a musical. This is the continuation of a project for humanity. For Bob Geldof. Hip hip! Hooray! Hip! Hooray! Hip! Hooray!
We're done. Thanks for coming. Keep coming. Thanks all the faces for coming. It's a Sunday. It's a gorgeous day in England. It's Wimbledon. Thanks for coming.